In today's video, we are going to start talking about data. Data is the fuel for your AI strategy. And I know what you're thinking. Data sounds super technical. Maybe this is not one for me, but it's so critical to your AI strategy. And I'm going to deal with it in a very easy to understand way. So you do not need to be a data engineer to go through this. I tend to think less about data as a word and think more about knowledge. So if you imagine that you're going to hire a new person into your organization, maybe a new executive assistant to work with you. So they arrive on the first day, and what are some of the things that you would give that person? Well, you would give them a company handbook, and that would explain all about the culture and the leadership and what you do as a company and who you sell to. You would provide them with some policies, health and safety policy. You'd provide them with a social media policy, anti-corruption, anti-bribery. You would provide them with an org chart. Who are all the people in the organization that they should work with? You'd provide them with details of your products and pricing, maybe. You'd provide them maybe with your core templates. This is how we write a letter. This is how we deliver a presentation. And so they've really got that context so that when a week or two later you ask them a question, they've got this knowledge and they can provide you with something that's very specific to your organization. And I very much think about that kind of knowledge when we're thinking about AI. If you just go to Google and ask a question in Google, well, it has no context about your organization, your company, the strategy you've got. And therefore, you get the same answer pretty much as anyone else would type that into Google. The same thing if you're going to use ChatGPT or Claude without providing any context. It just understands that wider world. And this is where your data, your company's knowledge, your experiences, your ways of thinking, your culture are so important. We've got to make that available in a safe and governed way to AI so that it can give us our best value back. So how do we get this data? What is this data or this knowledge? Here's an exercise that I would encourage you to run with your senior leadership team. And depending on which process you're going to cover, have the right people in there. And it's called a data matrix workshop. Now, you don't need to be a data specialist. In fact, that's not what we're asking for. Actually, what we want is people that understand the process and what kind of knowledge or information might exist. So what I'd ask you to do when you get the right people in the room is to draw up this matrix, which is like a 9-box grid. And here we're going to have the different departments or divisions that might handle a process. So I'm going to use go-to-market as an example, but you do different teams if you were doing product design and development, if you were doing logistics, if you're doing customer support. But here, let's say we've got our marketing team because they're important in our go-to-market. We've got our sales team. And then we've got our customer success team or support team that are looking after those customers. Then down the side here, we've got the different types of data or knowledge or information that we might have access to. So here we've got first-party data. Now, first party means data that you have access to within your company. This might be product usage data. It might be information in your CRM system. It is something that you have got directly within your organization. Next up, we've got second party data. So this is data that comes through your partners. So not your own company, but someone that is attached to you. So this could be supplier data. It might be data from your distribution partners, some resellers or some affiliates. It might be through some data organizations that you've got a partnership with where you provide some of your product to them, and they're providing you with access to data through that kind of partnership. So this is second party data. It's not exactly yours, but it's through your extended network. And then the third bit is third party data. And this is data that you buy in. So you might think of public data that you buy about healthcare statistics, about the weather, about the economy, about demographics in a particular country. And often this comes in through either public government provided sources or a Bloomberg or any of these kind of tools that you subscribe to get these data sources. Now, the part of the workshop that your team will start to go through is to just imagine the types of knowledge or information or data that would exist in each one of these squares, thinking about their individual departments and thinking about the information that they could get hold of, even if we don't have it today. So as an example, in first-party data for marketing, when we've got a marketing automation platform, you might use Marketo or Eloqua, we know who's coming to our website, we know what they're clicking on, we know what they're downloading. You know that you've got data from your website, you know that you've got data from your email marketing campaigns. All of this is available. Down here in third party, you might have some intent data or some content data that you've provided where you've been providing your content out onto third party sites, and you can buy that kind of data in here. In terms of sales, you might have information from your partners, distributors, suppliers potentially. And in terms of customer success, you might have also information from partners or from your own internal, technical support systems. You might have information on how people are using your product. You should end up with hundreds of items on this chart. And what we're saying here is this doesn't need to actually be data that you've got hold of today, but data that would be valuable if you could get hold of it. Having done that, the next part of this is about making connections between these two. If we did have call recordings from our salespeople, because they recorded every single meeting, and we could then connect that with a customer's product usage, would we be able to find out that if we said something in a certain call here, a customer is more likely to upsell or to extend their agreement in a year's time? It's making these business connections between these different sources of data that become so powerful. And so that is the data matrix workshop. You don't need any technical knowledge about data, but it's just going to get your teams thinking about the types of information and knowledge that would be useful if you were then going to be able to feed it into an AI model. And then your IT and your data teams can then start to figure out how to go about creating it. Hope that was useful. And tomorrow we're going to start moving into talking about the change enablement program.